It was kind of funny. I was going to give a board update later in the service, and I'll still do that. But as I was working on my board update, all these other words came flowing in. And so as I was asked this morning if I would do the inspirational talk, it's like, oh, that's what this is. Gotta love the way Spirit works. Yeah. And so I was reflecting this morning, and I'll tell you why I was reflecting on this in a little bit. But, you know, when I look at my life's journey, by the time I was 32, I was considering moving away from where I was and what I did and finding new friends and a little further from family and those kind of things. And then my sister, who is also this wonderful life coach for me, I was starting to float these ideas by her. And she said, just this lovely question. She goes, have you ever felt this way in your life before? Well, I went, because this would be the third time I would have just moved away and taken a new job and found new friends. And after about 4 or 5 years, it all kind of had that feeling about it again. And so I decided that this time I was actually going to work on that. And that began a lifelong journey, at least from that standpoint, so lifelong from 32 on, of me just exploring spiritual principles and how they work. No kidding, where the rubber meets the road in life. And so I came to a not full understanding who would be there, but an understanding of the spiritual principles taught in the Science of Mind text in Ernest Holmes, even though it was probably about 7 or 8 years before I actually knew that was true. Because I came to this center, I was with somebody on business travel, and we were having this lovely discussion in Australia over dinner, and it was philosophy, and we're sitting by a river, and there's lights, and we were talking philosophy, and he looked at me, he said, do you go to a Science of Mind church? Which is what it was. It was like, well, I know, what's that? And so I was invited, and here I've been for almost 16 years. And so what I came to understand in that process was that we get to make decisions all throughout, and that when I notice what I don't like, instead of moving from it, it's actually the beginning of a creative process. So Abraham says that's where you launch your rockets of intention. And so when you stand in a place and you see what you don't like, the opportunity then is to find the positive expression of what you do like. In other sharings, I can tell you some of the really interesting things I've created in my life that followed the word not before I really understood this. And they also led to really great things for me, in my case. So it's really about putting something out there affirmatively and putting it into our conscious and knowing it's the truth. As Jack always used to say, whenever we have a thought or whatever we say, in my mind, there's a ... yes, my beloved, let me make that true for you. And I just am so grateful that that little voice is going on in my head, because it really helps me patrol my intentions and thoughts. So the reason I started thinking about this is, for the last 5 years or so, I've had a Pema Chodron desk calendar. And you know, it always has lovely sayings. She's a Tibetan nun, and it always has these lovely inspirational sayings. And in January of this year, this is my 5th year, for the very first time it was actually an action-oriented thing. And it was, so for January what she has is, for one day or one day a week, refrain from something you habitually run away to escape. Make a commitment to gently and compassionately work with refraining from this habit this one day. Do this with the intention that it will put you in touch with the underlying anxiety or uncertainty you've been avoiding. Do it and see what you discover. And it's like, well, alrighty then. It's like, and so now I'm just in this moment of just looking at my life again and noticing where are those things where I'm backing off, and to see if there are any knots there, and if so, to flip them into something affirmative in my life. And then as I was driving up here, I'm almost done. But as I was driving up here, I started thinking, I think random thoughts when I drive. And so I started thinking about, whenever we gather in groups, it's really like coming into a potluck. And so we're all bringing something to the potluck. And so for myself, it's like, well, and so when I come to this gathering, what am I bringing? Am I bringing things that are based perhaps in the past, like I sometimes feel sad or those kinds of things. And it's like, or do I choose to bring something else? And in my particular case, what I choose to bring into this community is joy and laughter and love. And so as you look at what you're bringing into each one of your gatherings as you go through the day, or even heck, if you're by yourself, it's like, wow, you're going to snack what you got, you know? Just look at that. And then I'll leave you with this final note. At the very back of this year's calendar, because in the notes section there's also a quote, Pima says, "I wonder what will happen today." That's the spirit of taking a leap. So let's leap.